It is incredible the chaos that Pauline Hanson has caused by calling for an end to multiculturalism. I mean, the chaos now in the political class, the fury, the hate, and especially the lies and the cowardice we're seeing. But before I get to those Hanson haters and to her up yours response to them today, let me show you a stunning example of exactly the multicultural industry we're talking about, the one that Hanson's up against and, for good reason, trying to quash. SBS, the taxpayer-funded multicultural broadcaster, actually ran this ad for its Punjabi radio program. One Nation leader Pauline Hanson says Australia should be a monocultural but multiracial society, but migrant Australians ask, which culture will dominate? Which will dominate? Is that what we're up to? Ethnic communities wrestling to be top dog in this country? I mean, it's extraordinary. Now, of course, maybe unfair, because maybe the show itself was more reasonable. Maybe it said that Pauline Hanson and a One Nation party actually have a point and Punjabis approve. Well, let's listen in to how the show started.
One Nation Party ਦੀ ਆਗੂ Pauline Hanson ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰ ਫਿਰ ਤੋਂ ਸੁਰਖੀਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਛਾਈ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ.
Oops, I'm sorry about that. Of course, almost none of you speak Punjabi, so that show is utterly useless to you. Yet you pay for it, even though you have no idea what they were discussing on your dime. Just like you've got no idea what the SBS Mandarin service says, or its Arabic one. And you pay for these shows, and this Punjabi show right now, you pay for it even though every Punjabi that I've met here speaks English, most of them extremely well. So why are we paying for them to hear a Punjabi radio program in Australia, especially when they can get Punjabi shows and podcasts for free on the internet? And how does this kind of thing help with integration and assimilation? Anyway, that's the taxpayer-funded multicultural industry hitting back at One Nation. But of course, SBS is not alone. Labor and the Liberals are also attacking Hanson. Although I have to say, the Liberals now are in total chaos. Hanson has confused them, to say the least. I mean, are they for multiculturalism, which is actually a policy to encourage people to keep their culture and stay in their tribes? Are they for that? Or against? Well, leader Angus Taylor has no clue. I mean, last week I showed you he smeared Hanson as a racist. Yesterday, though, and I showed you that too, he was too scared to say either yes or no to multiculturalism and waffled. But then today, facing a revolt by the Liberal left, how could he not express an opinion for multiculturalism? He had a third crack. And this time, hinting, kind of, maybe, that he was for multiculturalism in a way.
Making sure that people who come to this country contribute to this country and commit to it, that's not a monoculture, but it is requiring that people adopt Australian values. They are not welcome if they're not prepared to do that. Now, you can call that whatever you like, but I just think that's common sense. And I'd rather talk about common sense on this than these labels that people love to give. It is a version of multiculturalism.
Oh, it's a kind of multicultural, I mean, just hopeless. Now, you contrast that with this new party president, former Prime Minister Tony Abbott, last night contradicting Taylor, making him seem weak in comparison by essentially agreeing with Hanson on having a public monoculture, whatever your private culture may be.
Australia has a core Anglo-Celtic culture. We have a foundational Judeo-Christian ethos. That should never change.
But it's not just Taylor. I mean, I haven't even begun to show you how impossibly divided the rest of the Liberals are over this critical issue. But I'll give you a hint. Take the Liberals' Foreign Affairs spokesman, Ted O'Brien, who, in his own Nationals Press Club appearance today, did people watch it like they watched Hanson's? Anyway, made perhaps the most stupid and dishonest criticism yet of what Hanson said last week when she called for a monoculture.
The thought that Johnny, who's at work speaking English, can't go home and speak Italian to his nonna? That's nuts. That's not the sort of Australia I want to live in.
Oh, Ted, stop playing up to that left-wing crowd there. That's pathetic. I mean, Hanson never suggested you couldn't talk Italian at home or Greek or Arabic or whatever. She said instead we had a real problem when nearly 900,000 Australians say they speak no English or only badly. You don't think that's a problem, Ted? Ted O'Brien, he was dishonest today, as the Prime Minister was, I think it was yesterday, when he suggested Hanson wanted to ban ethnic festivals. I mean, look at her, we're dancing a storm up at a Lebanese wedding. She's got no problem with ethnic festivities. So Hanson today underlined what she meant, picking up an analogy I gave here last week.
The far left have naturally taken my comments into the realm of utter fantasy. I was going to ban foreign food, and the Socceroos wouldn't have beaten Turkey under my policy. What rubbish. Predictable and pathetic. The Socceroos, in fact, represent my vision of a monocultural Australia. People from different backgrounds and cultures and nations all wearing green and gold and representing one nation under one flag and succeeding under the same set of rules. Australian monoculture is not exclusive, it is welcoming. It's an umbrella which covers all manner of difference. It's not a dirty word.
That's what she actually said. If you've got a problem with that, argue against what she said and not what you would wish she had said. And Hanson also gave examples of what she was against.
If we're going to accept you, you must accept us too. That's not too much to ask. It's the bare minimum we should be demanding. It's where we should be drawing the line on things incompatible with our culture, like Sharia law, child marriages, roaming armed gangs, female circumcision, sex-selective abortion, and the burqa. Burqas are about confining and controlling women, which is un-Australian. Yeah. Under a one-nation government, they will be banned.
Now look, there's plenty there that you can have an honest argument about. Decent people can disagree. Let's talk about that. But what we instead get are lies and misrepresentations from our critics. And while we still get those lies and misrepresentations, then I say to Hanson, keep going. Because that just proves your critics have got nothing. And this multicultural madness must go. Starting, may I suggest, with the SBS.
Pauline Hanson said 2 words this week that sent the entire political class into a tailspin. End multiculturalism. Not reform it, not tweak it, end it. And before the ink was dry on the headlines, every polished politician in Canberra was tripping over themselves to call her every name in the book, except the one name they could not bring themselves to say, someone who might have a point. Quick favour, if you are the kind of person who loves Australia and wants to stay sharp on what is actually happening in our country's politics, hit that subscribe button and click the notifications bell. It keeps this channel alive. Over 90% of viewers watching right now have not subscribed yet, and it would genuinely mean the world to us if you did. Thank you. Now back to the show. G'day Australia, welcome to AUS Politics Report. Here's the thing about the backlash Hanson received this week. Almost none of it engaged with what she actually said. Tim O'Brien from the Liberal Party stood up and claimed, straight-faced, on the record, that Hanson wants to ban Italians from speaking Italian at home. That is not a paraphrase, that is not a generous interpretation, that is a fabrication. Hanson never said it, never implied it, and yet there it was, broadcast as fact, because it's easier to fight a cartoon villain than to wrestle with an uncomfortable argument. And the uncomfortable argument, stripped of the caricatures, is this. Australia has built a publicly funded multicultural industry that now costs billions, operates with almost no accountability, and may be doing more to divide the country than to unite it. Andrew Bolt on Sky News this week put the spotlight on one example that makes the case better than any abstract debate ever could. SBS, the special broadcasting service, funded by your taxes, runs a Punjabi language radio program. A fine thing, you might think, until you learn that the overwhelming majority of Punjabi Australians already speak fluent English. They have access to Punjabi content online, on demand, for free. So the question is not whether Punjabi culture matters, it does. The question is why Australian taxpayers are footing the bill for a service nobody asked for and fewer still actually need. Multiply that across SBS Mandarin, SBS Arabic, SBS in dozens of languages, and you start to see the shape of something that looks less like inclusion and more like a self-perpetuating bureaucracy that needs division to justify its own existence. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It genuinely keeps this channel going, and we appreciate every single one of you. Now, here's where the political class really tied itself in knots. Angus Taylor, the shadow treasurer, came out swinging, called Hanson's position racist, then within the same news cycle, pivoted to offering his own version of multiculturalism grounded in shared Australian values, which, and you might want to sit down for this, is almost word for word what Hanson herself has been saying. Meanwhile, Tony Abbott broke ranks entirely, endorsing the idea of a public monoculture, an Anglo-Celtic Judeo-Christian core, while allowing private cultural diversity. So the Liberals spent the week attacking Hanson, contradicting each other and accidentally agreeing with her all at the same time. If that is not a party in search of a coherent position, nothing is.
What Hanson is actually proposing is not ethnic exclusion. It is what she calls a monocultural but multiracial Australia. One set of laws, one flag, one civic identity, under which every kind of difference is welcome, provided it does not clash with the core values of a liberal democracy. She supports ethnic festivals. She supports cultural expression. She supports immigration. What she rejects, and what she argues every Australian should reject, are practices that cannot coexist with Australian law and human rights. Sharia law, child marriage, female genital mutilation, sex-selected abortion, and the burqa, which she frames as a symbol of female subjugation, not religious freedom. You can agree or disagree. That is the point of a democracy. But you cannot have that debate honestly if you keep pretending she said things she did not say. The deeper argument, and the one Bolt drove home hardest, is that the multicultural industry has become exactly that, an industry. It has budgets to protect, staff to pay, and a vested interest in maintaining exactly the cultural silos it claims to be breaking down. Integration threatens its funding model. Assimilation would put it out of business.